All right, so we started going over Aqidat Awaamm last time. And just want to start from the beginning with you quickly, just quick review, and just to catch maybe a point or two that I didn't mention for you last time. So the author says, أبدأ بسم الله والرحمن وبالرحيم دائم الإحسان. I start in the name of Allah and of Ar-Rahman and by Ar-Rahim, everlastingly perfect. Yani, and I start in the name of Ar-Rahim. فالحمد لله القديم الأول والآخر الباقي بلا تحول. So, praise is due to Allah. Falhamdulillah. Al-Qadim al-Awwali, the eternal. Al-Qadim. Al-Awwali, the first means the unprecedented. Wal-Akhir al-Baqi, and the last. The last means the one who no one exists after him. Wal-Akhir al-Baqi, here, and the everlasting. Al-Akhir, the last, meaning the one that no one is after him. Al-Baqi, the one remaining. So the remaining one, that's very literal translation of Baqi. So we would usually say Al-Baqi for Allah means the everlasting, and that's true. But what does the word mean in a linguistic sense? Baqiya yabqa means to remain, to stay, not to go away. So for Allah, Al-Baqi means the one who has no end for his existence. Bila tahawuli, without vanishing. So that's emphasis there. It's not needed to complete the meaning. Al-Akhir, Al-Akhir al-Baqi, that's clear. Even without this part. Bila tahawuli, without vanishing. But the poet needs to fill the line up though. ثم الصلاة والسلام سرمدا. Then the salat, the special mercies with glorification, wassalam, and the safety and the security, sarmada, forever, saying perpetually, yes, and are requested, yes, are requested, they are requested. Then the salat and the salat, which is the special mercies with honor, with glorification, that is. When we make salat on the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, there is the meaning of honoring him and glorifying him, along with the fact that we are praying for him. على على النبي خير من قد وحدا. Upon the Prophet, the salat and the salam, the best in monotheism, how it's written here. Men, the best of men who, the best who, qad wahada, who deemed God one. Or who practiced monotheism if you want. who qad wahada, who practiced monotheism, or who deemed God one. I'll take it to bare minimum translation here, bare literal translation. The best who deemed God one. خير من قد وحد, who practiced tawheed. وآله وصحبه ومن تبع, and his family and his companions and whoever followed. So the tabi'un and those who come after, whoever followed سبيل دين الحق غير مبتدع, the path of the religion of truth, not as a heretic. And upon his family, his companions, and whoever followed the way of the true religion, not as a heretic. Yes. And the heretic, as you know, I didn't mention for you last time. The heretic, as you know, is two kinds. A heretic that reached the level of kufr and a heretic that did not reach the level of kufr. Mubtadi', an innovator in creed. That means he took a creed that did not come from the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and it is not the creed of the Prophet and his companions sallallahu alaihi wa ala alihi wa ashabihi wasallam. So yeah, I did tell you some of the different heresies, about some of those, like believing that Allah is in a place or a direction, or that He has organs, body parts, or emotions, or believing that Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam knows everything, or that he has power over everything, or that Allah uh, gave him control over the world, or believing that he's made of light, or believing that he's the first creation. All that is bid'ah, heresy. Some of it reaches the level of kufr, some of it doesn't reach the level of kufr. Believing that a major sin will take you out of faith, make you not a believer, that's a bid'ah too. And many, many other things. If I wanted now to pause to list for you many things, I will be able to, mashallah. So that was the author's introduction there. And then he started with the attributes of God. That's his first topic here. Like other books of Aqidah, he said, وَبَعْدُ فَعْلَمْ بِوُجُوبِ الْمَعْرِفَةِ مِنْ وَاجِبٍ لِلَّهِ 20 صِفَةً. Thereafter, know of the obligation of recognizing. Fa'lam, know, have the ilm about the obligation of the ma'rifah. So I'm curious how someone might translate this here. Have the knowledge about the obligation of the knowledge, maybe. But I attempted to use I did use two different words. Know about the obligation of recognizing, of being familiar with. Min wajibi lillahi 20 صفة, 20 attributes which are necessary for Allah. So, he took this saying that 20 attributes are personal obligation. So this is what he means here. Min wajibi lillah, or bi wujubil ma'rifah. Here, the obligation of knowing, the obligation of recognizing. He's talking about obligatory knowledge here. According to him, 20 attributes are included in the obligatory knowledge. We didn't make up obligatory knowledge. That term obligatory knowledge, even though you don't find other people using it, we didn't make it up. 20 attributes which are necessary for Allah according to the author. And we say there are 13 that are a personal obligation to know. Yeah, I listened back to the recording. In one spot while I was talking, I said, these 20 are not, the obligation to believe is 13, not 20. Yani, I didn't mean believe. The obligation to know. It's not a personal obligation to know 20 attributes. It's a personal obligation to know 13 attributes. And all of the Muslims believe in these 20 attributes. There's no difference about whether this is correct knowledge, that this is true. I mean, it's definitely true. But what we say is if you learn the 13, then the other 7 will not miss you, as you're going to see, inshallah. So he started counting. فَاللَّهُ مَوْجُودٌ قَدِيمٌ بَاقِي. So, فَاللَّهُ مَوْجُودٌ, Allah is existent. قَدِيمٌ, eternal. Baqi, everlasting. Let's take the conjunction out. Maybe when you hear some things like that, sounds strange not to hear the conjunction. Like you say, the hearing, the seeing. It's not really strange though. Like imagine someone's being introduced in English. So someone comes out on the stage to introduce someone, and he says, "Ladies and gentlemen, the scholar, the philanthropist, the statesman, the athlete." So without conjunction. So, فَاللَّهُ مَوْجُودٌ قَدِيمٌ بَاقِي. So, Allah is existent, eternal, everlasting, مُخَالِفٌ لِلْخَلْقِ بِالْإِطْلَاقِ, different from the creations absolutely. وَقَائِمٌ غَنِي وَوَاحِدٌ وَحَيٌّ قادر مريد عالم بكل شيء. Following the beat. مستفعل 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 مستفعل. وقائم غني وواحد وحي قادر مريد عالم بكل شيء. وقائم, existing, here self-existing. And so some people, they report about our sheikh that he said the word binafsihi should be inserted here, qa'imun binafsihi, even if it breaks the beats, breaks the pattern or the wazn, the meter. So that's something that was recorded about the sheikh here. Qa'imun, I actually meant to produce for you a document to show you. Really, it's in this one here. I can show you right where I am. Let me just pull it up for you. There was something I wanted to share. Bismillah. So this, what I'm now sharing with you, is from a Tafsiru fi Din. So he says, وَالْقَيُّومُ مُبَالَغَةٌ مِنَ الْقِيَامِ. Al-Qayyum is a hyperbolic adjective derived from qiyam. So qiyam is the attribute. وَهُوَ الثَّبَاتُ وَالْوُجُودُ, which is confirmation and existence. So what do you call someone attributed with qiyam fundamentally, originally in the language? Qa'im. And then Arabic language has sifat mubalagha, has hyperbolic or emphatic forms of adjectives. So qa'im is the original form from qiyam. And then if you amplify qa'im, then you can come up with such terms as Al-Qayyam. That's one of his names. That's one of the names of Allah, Al-Qayyam. And also Al-Qayyum. That's one of his names. And yeah, we have some other things here. Maybe if we come back to go over this, insha'Allah ta'ala, then we'll see it again, insha'Allah. Okay. So I just wanted to comment a little bit here on the word qa'im for you. Does the meaning, is there something that works there? So qa'im means one who has qiyam, which is the yani, that's the source of the name of Allah, Al-Qayyum. وقائم غني وواحد وحي. And so he is qa'im, is self-existing or self-existent. Ghani, independent. Wa wahid, now there's a conjunction. And one. Wa hayy, and alive. Qadir, powerful. Muridun, willing. Alimun bi kulli shay, knower of everything. Talked about that last time. And so what happened also with the attributes here? So he said 20 attributes. First attribute he mentioned is sifat nafsiyah, the self attribute, which is existence. Then the next five he mentioned are as-sifatu salbiyah, the negating attributes. Eternity negates having a beginning. Everlastingness, according to this saying, negates having an end. Mukhalifun lil khalqi, being different from the creation, negates having a similarity. Qa'imun binafsihi, self-existence, and ghani, independent, negate having a requirement. Wawahid, and one negates having a partner. All of those are the salbiyah attributes and the nafsiyah. So that's a total of 6. Then he wanted to give you the 7 that there's a disagreement about whether it's a personal obligation to learn them. He started here, wahai. So it starts here. Wahai, and alive. Because these 7 are adjectives in particular. Qadirun, powerful. Muridun, willing or willer. Alimun, knower. Bikulli shay, of everything. Sami'un al-basiru wal-mutkallimu. Hearer. Sami'un. Al-basir, the seer. Wal-mutkallimu. And a speaker. So have a here. There's L there. Say the speaker. That means God, the one who speaks with an attribute of speech. So each one of these adjectives, adjective means descriptive name. Descriptive name. An adjective is a name. Each one of these is an adjective. And the stronger saying is not to give these adjectives their own category and then give the attributes that these adjectives come from their own category. The attributes we're about to mention here, where he says, Lahu sifatun sab'atun tantazimu. He has 7 attributes that are as follows. فقدرة إرادة سمع بصر حياة العلم كلام استمر. فقدرة إرادة سمع بصر حياة العلم كلام استمر. So, yani, they are power, will, hearing, sight, life, knowledge, and knowledge, endless speech. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, so these 7 attributes here, according to what the author is upon, they have their own category. And these 7 attributes here, alive, powerful, willing, knower of everything, hearer and seer and speaker. According to what the author is upon, these 7 have their own category, and then the following 7 have their own category. According to the way we take, we do believe in these 7 here, but we say if you learn these 7, فَقُدْرَةٌ إِرَادَةٌ سَمْعٌ بَصَرٌ حَيَاةٌ الْعِلْمُ كَلَامٌ اسْتَمَرٌ, then this will cover for you these 7 that are in the forms of adjectives. You won't miss something in your creed. You won't be lacking or missing vital creed if you didn't learn those seven that are called ma'nawiyah attributes. وجائز بفضله وعدله ترك لكل ممكن كفعله وجائز بفضله وعدله ترك لكل ممكن كفعله. And possible, jaiz, or valid. You can put valid here if you want. Bifadlihi wa adlihi, by his grace and justice. His grace refers to the mercy that he bestows. Yani by his grace that he has bestowed mercifully. Wa adlihi, and by his justice concerning punishment that he has inflicted. What is possible or valid? ترك لكل ممكن كفعله, is not doing anything possible. Doing here means creating. Tarkun, abandoning. That's what tark means. Leaving. Leaving anything possible. That means not creating it. Kafirlihi, like doing it. Yani, also possible or valid is his doing, meaning creating anything possible. That's as far as we got last time. Now we're at the section on the attributes of the prophets. These titles, though, they're not part of the book. I added these. That's throughout this whole document that I'm sharing with you here. This document, almost 600 pages, has little titles here all throughout just for being a reference for you. Look here, not so important, but here in the back of the book, you can see all the topics in the different Aqidah books here that are here. Different Aqidah books that are here. So, he says, أرسل أنبياء ذوي فطانة بالصدق والتبليغ والأمانة. أرسل أنبياء ذوي فطانة بالصدق والتبليغ والأمانة. He sent prophets, أنبياء, but the Hamza is dropped off the word Anbiya. It's originally is Anbiya, Al-Anbiya'u. But the poet was able to remove this Hamza to preserve the beat. Arsala Anbiya, he sent prophets, Dhawi Fatana, men of intelligence. Okay. Dhawi, those who have, and it's masculine too, so that works. Those who have Fatana, intelligence, men of intelligence, possessed of intelligence, if you want. Possessed of intelligence, men possessed of intelligence, meaning possessing intelligence. بالصدق والتبليغ والأمانة, with the truth. With the truth, the delivery of the message, and trustworthiness. Yani, he sent them with the truth. So, men possessed of intelligence is a quality of the word prophet here. I'm talking about the grammar of the sentence. Prophets, men possessed of intelligence, here, sent with, so with goes back to sent. Sent with the truth, the delivery of the message, and trustworthiness. We learned that in the obligatory knowledge, that the prophets are attributed with truthfulness and trustworthiness and intelligence. That's the way we learned it in summary of obligatory knowledge. Truthfulness, trustworthiness, and intelligence. He says, intelligence and truthfulness and delivery of the message and trustworthiness. Also, this is originally tap marbuta here, fatanatun. أو ذوي فطانة بالصدق والتبليغ والأمانة. But it's reduced to a mere ha for the sake of the poem. It's not pronounced as a tat marbuta. So the fatana is the intelligence. The opposite of that is dim-wittedness, dullness, lack of intelligence, slowness. Bisidqi, he sent them with sidq, truth. The opposite of truthfulness is being a liar. What tabligh, and delivery of the message or conveyance. So we usually say conveyance, tabligh, or delivery of the message, that is. What's the opposite of that? The opposite of that is withholding. Withholding the revelation or the message. Wal amana, and trustworthiness, which is what is the opposite of that? The opposite of that is the treachery. So trustworthiness is going to be that they do not betray. They don't give bad advice on purpose. They don't summon you under false pretenses of safety and then murder you, for example. If you gave those prophets something to hold, for them to give it back and not to keep it, they will just hold it and give it back to you without keeping it. They don't betray. Okay. وَجَائِزٌ فِي حَقِّهِمْ مِنْ عَرَضِ, and possible concerning them, fi haqqihim, concerning them, in reference to them, and possible or valid in reference to them, min aradi, of quality, of attribute, بغير نقص, without deficiency, is كخفيف المرض, is like a light illness. وجائز في حقهم من عرض بغير نقص كخفيف المرض. So this is possible for a prophet to get sick. But when he says a light illness, though, he doesn't mean that he's not very sick. That's not what he means. He means here from the perspective of the appearance of the sickness, not the strength of the sickness. Rather, it could be and it would be that a prophet's illness is much, way more powerful than what the normal people get because of their status. This raises their ranks. You know about the hadith when the Prophet ﷺ was ill with the sickness that led to his passing, that one of the companions visited him and he had a fever, alayhi salatu wassalam, and the companion could feel the Prophet's fever radiating from him. Yani usually somebody has a fever, you're not going to know unless you touch his forehead, for example. He could feel the Prophet's fever without touching him. That's very severe. So that's not what the author here means by light illness. Rather, he means in terms of its appearance. So a prophet, he could get sick strongly, actually, in terms of the intensity of the illness, but it won't be repulsive. He will still be beautiful. He says, عصمتهم كسائر الملائكة واجبة وفاضل الملائكة. عصمتهم كسائر الملائكة واجبة وفاضل الملائكة. Their impeccability, their ismah, or their infallibility, كسائر الملائكة, like all of the angels, is wajiba, necessary. وفاضل الملائكة, and they are even better than the angels. So if he means here that the prophets have impeccability like the angels have impeccability, mere impeccability, without the details of what that impeccability covers, then yes, the prophets have impeccability like the angels have impeccability. But if the statement refers to the details of what that impeccability covers, then according to us, the stronger saying is that it's not exactly like the impeccability of the angels. Because the impeccability of angels is a divine protection from any and all sins altogether. Whereas the impeccability of prophets is, according to the majority, the impeccability of prophets is a divine protection from. But when it comes to the impeccability, the details of what that impeccability covers, then we say that what the majority says. We say what the majority says, and I will share with you documents about that. We say what the majority says. The majority says that prophets are impeccable. They are divinely protected from blasphemy. Yep, the angels are too. And from major sins, and the angels are too. And from small sins that display low character, and the angels are too. But not from small sins that do not display low character, though the angels are. So there's a difference. And I want to share with you some documents about that from the scholars. Because there are some liars out there who they say, creed of Ahlus Sunnah is that all of the prophets are impeccable. So they say it in a way that, as if to say, there's no details. The scholars have no difference in opinion about the details here. All right. So, what is this impeccability of the prophets? Is it true that this blanket statement that some people say? No, the creed of Ahlus Sunnah, they say, the creed of Ahlus Sunnah is that the prophets don't commit any sin. If they were to commit something that is a sin, it would not have been intentional. This is the creed of Ahlus Sunnah, and you are deviant people. That's what they would wish for us to be. That's what they hope that we were. So, Badruddin az-Zarkashi, he said in Al-Bahr al-Muhit in Usul al-Fiqh. Take note of this, because some of you are encountering these people. You don't know what to say to them. But it's not necessarily completely your fault, because they are liars. Not like they're coming at you honestly. They're liars. So take some documentation here. What did Az-Zarkashi say in Al-Bahr al-Muhit? ونقل القاضي عياض تجويز الصغائر ووقوعها عن جماعة من السلف. Judge Iyad, the Maliki, he logged the possibility of small sins and, in fact, their actual occurrence. عن جماعة من السلف, about a group from the Salaf. وجماعة من الفقهاء والمحدثين, and a group of the jurists and hadith scholars. وقال في الإكمال إنه مذهب جماهير العلماء. And he said in his book Al-Ikmal, it is the position of the majorities of scholars. When he says صغائر, small sins, he's saying small sins without the detail we usually mention. We say small sins that do not display low character. That's what he means. He's just not saying it all out. Like Al-Fayruz Abadi said, والأنبياء عندنا معصومون عن الكبائر دون الصغائر The prophets, according to us, are divinely protected from the big sins, not the small sins. He means not the small sins that do not display low character. Yani, that's what he should mean. That's the right way to direct his statement here. So it means this statement also lacks some detail. But it's a big lie for someone to tell you that none of the scholars from Ahlul Sunnah said this, because that's what they're going to tell you. And here's Imam An-Nawawi. And by the way, Judge Iyal, who logged what we just cited, he takes the other saying. He logged the possibility of small sins, and in fact, there are actual occurrence about a group of the Salaf. And he said it's the position of the majorities of scholars. Al-Qadi Iyad, he himself takes the saying that's not the saying of the majority of scholars. He takes the saying that's not the saying of majority of scholars, and he logs what is the position of the majority of scholars, honestly, because it's not like one of those people. And Nawawi, who also took the saying that's not the saying of majority of scholars. He said in the explanation of Muslim's authentic book, copying the statement of Judge Iyad, وَاخْتَلَفُوا فِي وُقُوعِ غَيْرِهَا مِنَ الصَّغَائِرِ مِنْهُمْ. They differed about the occurrence of other types of small sins from the prophets, other types being small sins that do not display low character. They differed about this. This is where their difference is. They don't differ that prophets are protected from kufr. They don't differ that prophets are protected from major sins. And they don't differ that prophets are protected from small sins that display low character. They differ about prophets being protected from also small sins that do not display low character. What did An-Nawawi say? فَذَهَبَ مُعْظَمُ الْفُقَهَاءِ وَالْمُحَدِّثِينَ وَالْمُتَكَلِّمِينَ مِنَ السَّلَفِ وَالْخَلَفِ إِلَى جَوَازِ وُقُوعِهَا مِنْهُمْ. Most of the jurists, hadith scholars, and theologians from the Salaf and the Khalaf took the position of the possibility of such sins coming from them. And here's the important part. وَحُجَّتُهُمْ ظَوَاهِرُ الْقُرْآنِ وَالْأَخْبَارِ. Their evidence was the apparent meanings of what is in the Quran and the hadiths. That's what we say. So we're going to bring all those ayats. وَعَصَى آدَمْ and وَاسْتَغْفِرْ لِذَنْبِكَ and وَالَّذِي أَطْمَعُ أَنْ يَغْفِرَ لِي خَطِيئَتِي and other things. لا إله إلا أنت سبحانك إني كنت من الظالمين. All these references. So وعصى Adam disobeyed. واستغفر لذنبك, repent for your sin, O Muhammad. والذي أطمع أن يغفر لي خطيئتي يوم الدين. Abraham said, Allah is the one that I hope He will forgive my sin on resurrection day. And Yunus said, La ilaha illa anta subhanak. No one is God but you. Glorified are you. Inni kuntu min al-zalimin. Indeed, I was amongst the wrongdoers. So he's not going to be a wrongdoer for doing something that's not haram. You say, is it the case that the Hanafis say that the prophets do not commit small sins? I don't know if that's something that can just be attributed to the Hanafis blanketly like that. Rather, this is a case where the scholars differ. So that, yani, some of them said this and some of them said that. I don't know that. It is... yani, matter of fact, as I'm thinking, it's not the case. The answer would be no. Let me see something here. So how can they differ with so much proof in the Quran? They make a ta'wil. They give an alternative interpretation to these documents, which boils down to, the meaning of their alternative interpretation boils down to that the prophets did not commit a real sin. They committed something that's not befitting of their status, but was not actually forbidden for them to do in the first place. That's what they say. It's not stronger. But maybe someone would love to take this position because he loves the prophets. He wants to honor them. So he says, yeah, this is it here. Now, the prophets, they don't have anything, none of these. And then he holds fast to it. Maybe this is something for him. But what should be done is that the evidence from the Quran and the Hadith must be taken. Our feelings about a case, our emotions about a case, our minds about a case also do not have any authority over the religious texts. Think about it like when Abraham had to slaughter his own son. He had to kill his son. So that's what the religion said he had to do. Then that's what it is. So then that was good too. And it was a good thing. He had to kill his son and it was a good thing. That's what it is. Doesn't matter how we feel. Our feelings don't matter here. Allah Ta'ala informed us that these prophets, this is their situation, then that's their situation. You asked me a question. I want to look really quick at something here because I think the answer to your question I have documented here. And necessary concerning the prophets, may the salah of Allah and His salam be upon them, is truthfulness, trustworthiness, conveyance, and intelligence, and impossible for them is lying, betrayal, concealing the revelation, and dullness. Here, this is a Hanafi book here. This one I'm showing you. This is Hanafi book here. وَالْعِصْمَةُ مِنَ الذُّنُوبِ أَيِ الْكَبِيرَةِ وَالصَّغِيرَةِ الَّتِي فِيهَا خِسَّةٌ وَدَنَاءَةٌ وَاجِبَةٌ لَهُمْ. And protection from sins, i.e., major sins and minor sins that do not display low character, is necessary for them. So that's why he was so specific. He said, وَالصَّغِيرَةُ الَّتِي فِيهَا خِسَّةٌ وَدَنَاءَةٌ. They are protected from the small sins that have lowness and vileness. He didn't just say small sins, period. It was that Al-Qawuqji. Aqaidul Iman, Convictions of Faith, from Kifayatul Subyan by Al-Qawuqji, the Hanafi of Tripoli. So, let's just finish this section though. Here, we're just about out of time. So he said, Ismatuhum kasa'iril malaika. This one's a Maliki, by the way. This author is a Maliki. Their impeccability, like all of the angels, is wajibatun. Ismatuhum kasa'iril malaika. Their impeccability, like all of the angels, wajibatun, is necessary. Wafadalul malaika, and they are even better than the angels. So, why people arguing with us about this? Not because they care really about the impeccability of the prophets, because they hate us. So, if they can find something to argue with us about, if they can find something to confuse people concerning us, then they're going to do it. So, yeah, that's clear. And they are even better than the angels. That's true. Although the angels have impeccability even from small sins that do not display low character. That do not display low character. Yes. And how is this the case? Because the prophets are humans. They have a nature different from the angels' nature. And the angels are creatures different from us. What interests, if you want to take the word interest, what interests the angel, or the human, let's say. Angel's just going to do what his Lord commanded him to do. What interests the human, what is appealing to a human, what is an inclination of a human, is not going to be the same thing for an angel. They're different creatures. Prophets are human creatures. And Allah Ta'ala made it possible for them to fall into some amount of sin.
The impeccability of the angel is more than the prophets because they don't even commit small sins.
Uh, so yeah, the prophets are better than the angels. Although the angels, the impeccability of the angels covers even small sins that don't display low character. The prophets are still better than them, and the difference between prophets and angels that prophets are different creatures, are human creatures, and the angels are not human creatures. So, what motivates a human and what drives a human, what's interesting to a human, etc., what's appealing to a human, etc., is not the case for an angel necessarily. So they have different natures, humans and angels. So because they have different natures, they're not going to have necessarily the same impeccability. But the prophets, they do have impeccability. They're not normal humans. We normal humans don't have any impeccability. The prophets are not normal humans. They do have impeccability, but their impeccability is not the same as the angels, according to what we say is the strong saying, which is the saying of majority of scholars. Uh, and also, those prophets being humans, uh, for them to be susceptible to falling into something, one might say, I would say, humanizes them. What I mean is, and this is what I learned, what I mean is, makes them more relatable. Makes us also more, makes them have, for us who don't have the impeccability, more compassion too. Those prophets who could possibly fall into something very small, possibly, not necessarily, they would have compassion for the weaklings like ourselves who don't have any impeccability. That's what some scholars said. Inshallah, if I come across that statement, I'll produce it for you and I'll read it to you, and we'll see exactly how they said it. Maybe it's going to come out better than the way I just said it now. And now there's one more line here, and then we're going to stop for tonight, inshallah ta'ala. I hope that we would get into the 25 prophets, start naming them and talking about them. But we're going to miss it for today, inshallah. So, this last line for today is that the author said, والمستحيل ضد كل واجب فاحفظ لخمسين بحكم واجب. والمستحيل ضد كل واجب فاحفظ لخمسين بحكم واجب. This one, I didn't find it easy to translate. So this is just an approximation here. The impossible is the opposite of any necessity. Yes. So memorize for 50 cases. Yani, memorize 50 cases under the necessity. Well, what does that mean? It's cryptic, this line here. So what did he say here? He told us so far in his poem. He told us concerning what's wajib, that is here, saying وَالْمُسْتَحِيلُ ضِدُّ كُلِّ وَاجِبِ. The impossible is the opposite of any necessity. Yes. Okay. So did he name any necessities for us so far in his poem? He did. He tells us فَحْفَظْ لِخَمْسِينَ. Memorize 50 بِحُكْمٍ وَاجِبِ. 50 cases under the necessity. That's a loose translation there. I really don't know a better way to translate this. Maybe I wanted to look to research some different translations for this metin to see what did some of them do with this line, but I didn't get to that. But how Sheikh Tariq explained it. He said, okay, the mustahil, the impossible, is the opposite of any necessity. Okay, yes, we know that. If you know what impossible means, and if you know what necessary means, the necessity means, and you know what possible means, what impossible means, and what possible means, and what necessary means, then you know that the impossible is the opposite of the necessary. Okay, so that's clear if you know what those mean. And if you have a question, you can ask me. So he tells us to memorize 50 things that pertain to the wajib. So did he name for us 50 things pertaining to the wajib? He did, by mentioning the 20 attributes. That's 20 wajibs right there. And the opposites of those 20 attributes are impossibilities. Those are 50 things. 40, sorry. Those are 40. 20 plus 20. 20 attributes are obligatory. Therefore, there are 20 impossibilities. That's 40 cases right there. And for the prophets, did he name anything that's wajib, necessary? Well, he said here, Arsala Anbiya Dhawi Fatana. He sent prophets, men possessed of intelligence. That's necessary. Bisidqi, with truth. What tabligh, delivery or conveyance. Wal amana, and trustworthiness. So those are all necessary. 1, 2, 3, 4. Those 4 necessities. So each one has an opposite. So that's 8. So that's 48 total so far. And then, is there another necessity here? Ismatuhum kasairil malaika wajibatun wa fawdalul malaika. And their impeccability is necessary. That's a necessity. That's 49. And then its opposite, which is being subject to these bad behaviors, is the 50th thing. So that's a deciphering this line of poetry here that yani, one might say is cryptic. Wallahu a'lam, we'll stop there. Inshallah, next week we'll start going through these prophets. Any question I can answer for you?
Can I ask one question? It's not a question, a comment. May Allah reward you. Why you have haraka in some of them, most of them, and some of them you don't? Because of due to, I know you are overwhelmed due to lack of time, or it just there wasn't a need.
No, there's no harakat on most of them. Really, because it's just a draft.
Just for curiosity, I'm asking. I like it with haraka.
Yeah, I do too. No, Yani, I will go back and put it. When I was getting ready for the lesson today, I was putting harakat on things that didn't have harakat. Okay. So I didn't leave them out for any reason. It's just a draft, so it's incomplete.
Thank you. Barakallah fikum.
You're welcome.